I looked at the stage and I saw the Secret Service agents rushing to President Trump. From that moment, I ran to the stage and I started photographing with the agents on top of them. And then off to my right, I saw the Secret Service counter-assault team arrive. And then I ran to the other side of the stage and they picked President Trump up. And then as he's walking down the ramp, he started fist bumping to the crowd and waving. And I did notice he had blood coming down his face, as you can see in the photos. The agents took him down the ramp and they put him into an SUV. And again, as he was getting into the SUV, he also started pumping his fists again.
World leaders have also reacted, including Donald Trump, as well as Australian Prime Minister. Let's listen in.
Thoroughly briefed by all the agencies in the federal government as to the situation, based on what we know now. I have tried to get a hold of Donald. He's with his doctors. Apparently he's doing well. I plan on talking to him shortly, I hope, when I get back to the telephone. Look, there's no place in America for this kind of violence. It's sick. It's sick. It's one of the reasons why we have to unite this country. We cannot allow for this to be happening. We cannot be like this. We cannot condone this. And I want to thank the Secret Service and all the agencies, including the state agencies, that have engaged in making sure that the people and we have more detail to come relative to other people maybe injured in the audience. I don't have all that detail. We'll make that available to you. I may be able to come back a little later tonight, but we'll put out a statement if I'm not able to if it's not convenient for you all. But the bottom line is that the Trump rally was a rally that he should have been able to be conducted peacefully without any problem. But the idea that there's political violence or violence in America like this is just unheard of. It's just not appropriate. And everybody must condemn it. Everybody. I'll keep you informed, and if I am able to speak to Donald, I'll let you know that as well. But so far, it appears he's doing well, number one. Number two, that they're thoroughly investigating what happened to anyone else in the audience. We have some reports, but not final reports. And every agency in the federal government, I'm going back to my phone to speak with the federal agencies that are being put together again to give me an updated briefing. Has anything happened? They learned any more in the last couple hours. So thank you very much, and I hope I get to speak to them tonight, and I'll get back to you if I do, okay?
Mr. President, do you think there was an assassination attempt?
I don't know enough to. I have an opinion, but I don't have any facts. So I want to make sure we have all the facts before I make any more comments. Thank you.
Are you worried about?
Along with all Australians, I was shocked by the terrible scenes at former President Trump's campaign event in Pennsylvania. I'm relieved by the news that the former president is safe and doing fine, and I wish him and his family well. I applaud the swift work of US security agencies. I'm also saddened by reports that a member of the audience has lost their life and other attendees have been injured, and I send my condolences on behalf of Australia to their loved ones in this time of grief. Let us be clear. The people at this event, the candidate, the crowd, the free press covering it, were all participating in the democratic process. In Australia, as in the United States, the essence and the purpose of our democracies is that we can express our views, debate our disagreements, and resolve our differences peacefully. We do so with respect for each other and in the spirit of a shared love of our country. Any act of violence is an affront to that and must be condemned unequivocally. This was an inexcusable attack on the democratic values that Australians and Americans share and the freedom that we treasure. These values are ones that unite our two countries. It's the basis of our alliance, is those shared values between our peoples as great democratic nations. And all Australians stand with our friends in the United States at this difficult time.
Now, those were the reactions of Joe Biden as well as Anthony Albanese. But let's talk about the incident, viewers. There was chaos and panic as 7 bullets were fired, which killed 1 person and left 2 others injured. And with the FBI and the Secret Service now probing the entire incident, here's what we know so far as the investigation is concerned.
Take a look at what happened.
Donald Trump was shot in the ear during a campaign rally in Pennsylvania, resulting in his face being smeared with blood. What followed was chaos while the air was ringing with screams. The former president had a narrow escape. However, an attendee was killed while 2 others were injured before the shooter was shot dead.
As you know, there was a grandstand, a very large area, a lot of people there when this all unfolded. The former president had come out and begun to speak shortly after 6 o'clock this evening, and within about 10 to 15 minutes, a number of sounds were heard, and it became apparent that shots were being fired in that direction. It was a chaotic scene. Law enforcement, I believe, acted heroically, quickly identifying and neutralizing the threat, as well as responding to assist the various victims.
Law enforcement officials stated that the shooter has been identified as a 20-year-old Pennsylvanian local, Thomas Matthew Crook, who fired an AR-style rifle. Crook, reportedly a sharpshooter, was standing at the rooftop of a nearby building just 100 meters away from the site. The FBI and the US Secret Service are now investigating the case.
This evening we had what we're calling an assassination attempt against our former president, Donald Trump. It's still an active crime scene. As I mentioned, we have a number of agents on scene. We also are working closely with other federal agencies, our state partners, and our local police partners as well.
The state police is also in a close coordination with the FBI.
The state police have been in regular contact with the governor's office, and the full support and assets of the entire agency are behind the FBI and our other federal and municipal partners to assist.
Let me get my shoes.
I got you, sir.
Let me get my shoes, sir.
Hold on, your head is bloody.
So we gotta move to the bus. Let me get my shoes.
Okay, my shoes down. My shoe.
Watch out.
Wait.
Well, that's exactly what happened in those 11 minutes. Now, to give us more insights, we have Mr. KP Fabian joining us live on this broadcast, a former diplomat. A very good afternoon to you, sir. My first question is, how does the diplomatic community react in the aftermath of such assassination attempts? Because it's a very tricky situation. The media is all over you, and the police are investigating. So how do diplomats handle this?
Well, first of all, we are all very glad, thank God, the assassination attempt failed. But we also have to look at it from a deeper perspective. I remember I had not joined the Foreign Service then. But in 1963, when Kennedy was assassinated, and as we know, later there was an attempt on Reagan. But we also know that in 1968, Martin Luther King Jr. and also Robert Kennedy, the brother of the president, assassinated, they were killed. And even more recently, there have been attacks on politicians. So what we are witnessing is that in America, using violence against politicians and of course against others, schools and all that, is, what shall I say, is almost becoming a norm. Now, there is much talk about the gun culture, but the gun culture has two aspects. One is the easy availability of guns. The other is the mindset that, the society is so polarized. So a particular person, feels that it is all right for him to go and use the gun against the other person. So America, the longest democracy in the world, you know that American Revolution preceded the French Revolution, has to wake up. It should have woken up in 1963 and in 68, but it hasn't. So it has to wake up and address this problem in a holistic way, not in a politicized way, blame game. No, it has to do that. But will they do that? Well, I do not know. I hope they will, but I'm skeptical.
So now, just a while back, I was speaking to Mr. Salvatore Babones, and he pinned the blame on the negative campaigning by Donald Trump during the course of the presidential election race. So what do you think? Who is to be blamed here? Is it an intelligence failure, or is it a result or a backlash against the alleged negative campaigning by Donald Trump?
Well, is the question addressed to me?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Well, negative campaigning has been going on, if I may say so, by both sides. Trump, of course, is guilty of that, but President Biden also, when he said that Trump has to be stopped, it will be a disaster if he comes back to the White House. So that sort of negative campaigning by both sides has been quite toxic. And, when somebody who is young, this guy is 20, he was told that Trump has to be stopped. Well, according to his toxic mind, the best way to stop him is by killing him. So that is what has happened. And we all have to be careful that in democracy, there is no scope for violence and also for negative campaigning, which can generate violence.
So do you think that there were a few red flags and warnings that the Secret Service agents ignored, which led to this incident?
Yes, it is a warning, but the question is, does those who are responsible, do they take the warning seriously?
Right, sir. Now, going forward, do you think lessons are learned? Because this is not the first time that the US or the world has witnessed an assassination bid against a US president or a former president. Even in the past as well, we've seen so many assassination attempts. Some of them failed, and unfortunately, many of them, succeeded as well. So how do you see this? Do you think that the security protocols must improve?
Well, that the security failed is obvious because this guy did it from a rooftop. And as we know, President Trump, or former President Trump rather, he was entitled to security as a former president and also as a candidate. So the security, the FBI and the local police should have seen to it that all the rooftops were sort of either taken over or monitored properly. Obviously, they failed to do that. It's a serious lapse on their part.
So usually,
why did it happen? Well, there will be an investigation, then only we can say.
Right. So usually when such high-profile addresses are, scheduled at such public places, what kind of arrangements or preparations go into it?
Well, the American security, what shall I say, makes very, very draconian arrangement. I remember once when I was in Canada, the American president came to Canada, and in Montreal, it was a huge hotel with 600 rooms or something like that. They took over the entire hotel, and also considerable area surrounding the hotel. So they do it in a very, what shall I say, elaborate, comprehensive way. But in this case, they did not do that.